Welcome, everyone, to another episode of The Jankyard, a podcast about Ashes Reborn, the best expandable card game that's ever been created. And we're here to talk about the meta and janky decks once in a while and what we're currently playing and all things Ashes. So with me today, I have the sleep-deprived treatment.
Hey, y'all.
The very sleepy Schmendrix.
I mean, I'm also sleep deprived, but I do it to myself. I don't have a small child torturing me.
Your camera looks like it's very dark in your room, so I'm just assuming you're half asleep as we're recording this.
I know, it's funny. I have my desk lamp is on, but I guess it just makes me look like I'm in one of those blurred witnesses in a 60 Minutes video or something, talking to you from a dark corner.
It adds to the brooding, mystique.
Yeah.
More like brooding mistake. But yes.
Be nice to yourself.
Yeah.
Kicked my butt last night in the playtest game.
Well, we went 1-1. I hadn't really been out that I'm a tester, but I guess it's out.
Oh, sorry. It's out now. I've outed you.
I'm pretty sure you've outed yourself like 3 or 4 times by now.
Yeah, well, I like to pretend I haven't. But yes, those were fun games. I'm excited about the cards that are coming out that we can't talk about.
Yeah.
I'm the odd man out now. I think I have to get on this playtest team just so that I can contribute to the conversation.
Now, then we'd have to talk to you more, though.
That's true.
It's fair.
Such an ass.
But tonight we thought we'd talk a little bit. We thought we'd talk a little bit of RRN Meta, to use the new acronym that's been thrown around. Red Rain's Nature. The Scourge of Frostwild is here. It's on Ashteki. People are playing with it. And we thought we would talk about
why you hate it.
The decks we've built that we're excited to play. Yeah, the decks other people are building and why I can't stand the meta right now. But that can be last. We don't have to get to that. Let's try and be positive Pete's on this show. I'm too much of a negative Nancy lately, so I'm going to try and get away from that.
The only comment I saw just now on the server was that Carl said my best RRN deck is a fallen deck. And I was like, oh,
yeah,
this is... We're starting off bad already.
Well, No Such had said right before that he thought this would be like a very anti-fallen meta. I don't know that I agree with that, but that's what he said. And he's supposed to be the fallen guy, right? So
I don't know. You take Carl's Koji Creeper deck, you add the fallen element that he started testing, and then you now have the Wolfpack Leader. That's just nonsense in a bottle.
Yeah. Yeah, so do you want to just say what Wolfpack Leader is?
Yeah, let's do that. Because I think Wolfpack Leader is a good place to start on decks that are going to be ubiquitous in the Red Rain's Nature meta. So Wolfpack Leader is Koji's new card. It's a 2/2. I don't know what recover it has. I assume it's 1, but I don't know. Maybe it's 0. Ally that comes into play with 2 status tokens on it, and its ability allows you to remove a status token from it at the start of your turn and put a 1/1 with either Fade or Fleeting into play. I forget if it's Fade or Fleeting. It goes away at the end of the round. I don't know if it destroys itself or if it discards itself. But either way, the point is that it is a 2/2 ally that starts putting 1/1s on the board, and if you keep pumping status tokens onto it and it doesn't die, then it just keeps making 1/1s every turn.
For the sake of actually being an educational podcast, to clarify it, the Pack Wolf is Fade, so it is a destroy this unit at the end of round, and Wolfpack Leader is a recover one, because why not?
Yeah, why not? Jessa can't even fear it, so I wonder why Nick wanted to put the recover on it. But anyway, so Fade is interesting because now I start thinking about Fighting Spirit and stuff like that with it, if you can get tokens onto it. And there's already going to be tokens flying around in these Koji decks. But this, of the 4 new unique cards, and we can talk about them in due course if we want, but this is clearly, to me, the standout of the 4 new uniques. I think Aridel's is okay. I think Lulu's is okay. Rin's is also really good. I guess maybe that's the next contender.
Shattering Fist.
But I still think
Rin's is really good.
Yeah,
like,
Rin's
really
is
good.
Rin's is also very good. So maybe maybe it's on par. But this card to me just feels completely insane. Wolfpack Leader. It's just putting 1/1s on the board for nothing is. I mean, we talked about Fallen already a little bit. You get 3 Fallen for 1 die, so you're paying a third of a die to get Fallen out when you have all 3 books down, which takes more than a smile to get going. And Wolfpack Leader is just like, all right, well, I'll give you, I'm a 2/2, and if you can't kill me, then I'm going to give you at least 2 1/1s. And if you want to spend your Phoenixborn ability, you get another one. And let's not, then we can start talking about time hoppers and title crabs and stuff that just keep adding more to it. I mean, obviously those things have costs to them, but they come with bodies that already support the dice you spend. Like you're paying 1 time class die to get a 1/1 time hopper. Like that's already basically worth it. And so that, like, to me, the status token is kind of free and similar to it's similar with a title crab. I mean, once you get those 2 tokens off of it, it's a 2/3 body that's worth 2 dice, and you start just generating crazy value off of this ally. And then on top of that, now, I mean, I'm going to talk. I played a game this morning against Red King, and I got obliterated, so that it's fresh in my mind. But it seems it's a very, very good tempo style unit. And I know a lot of people that aren't, not a lot of people that aren't Red King play this type of deck. He happens to be very good at them, but this.
What can you define that?
Yeah, define it for because we all use it differently.
It's difficult to define, but when I think about it, it's like it's a tempo deck manipulates the board in such a way that it overwhelms you faster than you can spend dice to defend against it. Is kind of how I envision it, right? So it likes stuff that summons with side actions, or like Lightbringer's an excellent tempo unit because it locks you out of playing a response on your turn. Stuff like that, where they can kind of overload the board quickly and you don't have enough time to deal with it. Like accelerates a tempo card. But he was doing, I think he had a spell board of Lightbringer and Time Hopper, and it might have been it, actually. And so, again, those are 2 tempo cards right off the bat. And then you add Wolfpack Leader, and he had Immortal Commander, and it was like, he took like 3 main actions, and he had like 6 guys on the board. Between, Wolfpack Leader churning out extra things, and Time Hopper giving in an extra status token and summoning in a side action, and Commander summoning on a side action, and Lightbringer locking me out of turn, and stuff like that. And it's like, out of nowhere, there's 6 guys, and I maybe have 2 guys down, and he gets to swing for like 12 with Commander.
Bring back Meteor.
Yeah, well, the first round is, I can't do Meteor. Like this.
No, that's what I'm saying. Bring it back.
Yeah, Unchained Meteor.
Yeah.
I didn't start an AoE spell or an Ice Trap, and I didn't have. I mean, I was playing a Leo Charm Time Illusion deck that doesn't have access to that stuff, so I didn't have a whole lot of counterplay. I tried a Beast Tamer. It kind of worked, but just got beat up. But that's a cool deck. I'm actually happy. I told him, I was like, this is at least interesting. Like, a lot of the decks I'm seeing right now are not, I don't think, interesting, which is part of the reason I'm frustrated with this metagame. But, like, that was interesting. It's like, okay, this is a cool combination of stuff. He's leveraging the fact that he can pump out a bunch of units really quickly. But all that being said, I feel like Wolfpack Leader is just a crazy, crazy card. And I've built a little bit with it, and I was doing similar things to him, but not as good as him.
And if you'd ice trapped it, what's his plan?
Yeah, I don't know. So, his other spell board, his other ready spell was Reinforce. He did find a second Wolfpack Leader off the Reinforce as well, which...
Oh, that's gross.
I mean, compounded the issue. And I think he also started a Shepherd. So if I ice trap it, I guess he has Shepherd. Mm-hmm. To just bring it back. And first 5 was something... I think his first 5 might have been Reinforced Lightbringer.
And the fact that it's a basic just means he can...
Correct. Reinforced Lightbringer, Time Hopper, Wolfpack Leader, Shepherd maybe is the first 5. And I was drawing cards for him, so I think I drew him into the commander or something. Or no, he had Gates too. I don't know what. Maybe he must have got. I don't remember. I gave him a card with Ash Spirit. I gave him 2 more with Abundance, and I think he just drew into like.
Well, why were you giving him so many cards?
Well, that's what the deck does. It's like that's all I can do. And I mean, to be honest, so I lost that game. I think I put 6 damage on Koji, but he was decked, and like I was gonna start firing off abundance damage, really. So it wasn't like it wasn't a close game. It kind of was. I was able to survive a little bit, but just couldn't handle the swarm. But Wolfpack Leader felt very, very strong, especially when I'm sitting there with a deck that isn't really poised to deal with it very effectively.
Okay, so that's your experience lately. Schmenn, what have you seen? Because I think I'm probably going to be the odd man out with like 2 games played lately, So
I played Carl's deck that also featured Wolfpack Leader, his best deck in the meta, which is Creepers, Fallen, and Wolfpack Leader, and Guilt Link. And so, like, I don't know what you do against that. There's so much long-term value he's setting up. If you try to keep his Fallen books down, so his, he plays Fallen, plays Open Memories to get Fallen, plays Wolfpack Leader. So like, I guess if you rushed him hard enough in the first couple turns, you might lay a bunch of damage on him, and maybe you close it out with Burn then, because it does take kind of 3 main actions to get going. So Archosaurus mount meta, I guess, I don't know, but yeah, it's very rough, and it's very good. And so, when we were testing the card, I was very concerned that Wolfpack Leader was a 2/2 because of Ice Trap and it being in the nature set and Ice Trap being everywhere. But I think and Ice Trap is everywhere. It's like absolutely ubiquitous right now. I run it in just about everything right now because it's got so many good targets. And what smart decks do, like Carl's, and I think what you could probably do with Fighting Spirit, although I haven't seen that yet, is you just you take the 1-die loss off of Wolfpack Leader, which isn't backbreaking, so you trade 1 card that you can recur easily in lots of different ways, like with Shepherd, for 1 card on their side, and you put a Fighting Spirit token on, or you put zombie tokens on, or maybe you do both if you want to go that direction. So yeah, it's just even if you remove it, it still gains value and advances your game plan, and it's cheap, and it's a basic sync, and it's really good. So I think I haven't played a lot of Rin. I've been really attracted to using Jungle Forager to pull fadeaways from the deck, to be able to have cheap access to cheap removal basically at any time I want, and be able to flex between cheap removal in the first 5 and buff alterations. And people keep telling me that Rin's the meta, and you can't play fadeaway into Rin, but I have yet to actually play someone playing Rin. I mean, I'm sure there are lots of people playing Rin, I just haven't run into it yet. But if I do, Shattering Fist is a huge problem. What makes that card crack to me is that it's place wounds and not deal damage, so it gets around all the obvious stuff. And yeah, it's basic. I think it's a side action.
Yeah,
like,
so even trading into Veil is like, okay.
Yeah, it's just it's crazy. I'd play that every time.
I have maybe played, I think 3 games, maybe 4, but one of them basically bailed early since the started. But I don't know. I don't know if it was me or if it's like, you know, playing Shadow and Brian, which maybe aren't like necessarily representative at any given time of playing all the meta decks. I think they also like to play counter meta decks off the start, like what they anticipate. And I've seen a lot of that too, just jumping in on games. I see a lot of people playing like Tristan and Airedale and things that would naturally have a lot of strength against the beefier type of units that you might expect in Rin. Or I actually haven't seen any Koja games, but so that to me was interesting. And that's also sort of the decks that I've been building. So I've thought about Airedale a lot because of something like Wolfpack Leader or Donnie, the Adaptadon, which I'm trying to get the name to stick. And then Noah is another one I've been thinking about a lot. Noah with Law of Fear. I've been thinking about Neil a lot in decks and trying to find the like whether Mill or Burn have a place right now, because Frostback Bear is everywhere. So I even thought about some Saria or Soraya decks as well. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I have a lot of ideas on paper. I think I have 10 different ideas, but I don't know when I'll ever be able to test them. So at some point, I'm going to get you guys to do it.
I think Saria is extremely well positioned currently. She has the Mill win con built onto her, you know, printed on her Phoenixborn card, or at least the backup plan, pressure point, whatever you want to call it, built into her card. And she has a signature spellboard card that kills 2-life units. And there's a lot of 2-life units. I mean, but, you know, I guess theoretically Adaptadon can make itself a 1/3, but then you force it to use the ice adaptation and not the fire one. And if you just build your deck in such a way that the ice adaptation doesn't hurt you, then you can, you know, that's already making Adaptadon a little bit less powerful. And if you're running the body inversion stuff in Saria, if you want to kill the Adaptadon anyway, you can just invert it and still kill it with the Raven. You know, I like Saria a lot, and I haven't really played her yet, and I think that's one that she, you know, I understand that when the charm set comes out, she'll get even more help, I'm sure, but because she's going to be in charm no matter what. But I think she looks pretty good now, and I need to try and get back to her again. I've played a bunch of Airedale. So I've played a lot of Leo Mill, and the other deck I've played a bunch of is Airedale with Cobras. Rejuvenating Cobra. That's my other deck basically right now. That deck's done pretty well. It got crushed by Matt's armor deck, which is something that I think might be more of a thing. It was just literally armor.deck, right? He started Squirrel and Root Armor. So he played Beast Tamer with armor, and then Dreamlock Mage with another Root Armor from the Squirrel, and then Celestial Knight, all in the first round. And I'm like, my Cobras are just like, what do I do? I can't do anything. I can Water Blast something for 1, like whoop-de-doo. It doesn't do anything. And I just literally, I had no play against any of the armor, and I just got kind of eaten alive after a while. So I got to figure out something about that. But I do like Airedale in general, because she can kill Wolfpack Leader. That sounds pretty good. But Matt was playing Odette with that deck, and she can also kill Wolfpack Leader. So I think she's pretty well positioned also to deal with some of this stuff. Oh, sorry, the other one I like a lot is Echo.
Yeah, I haven't played enough Echo. I think Echo's really cool right now too, and I think so first of all, I just want to note that amount of armor, even if you could even if you were packing Foragers to draw reflections in the water out of your deck, I don't think that's quite gonna deal with it.
No.
Duelists everywhere.
Duelists, but even duelists
Fallen
are somewhat useful. Fallen, Law of Dominion. I mean, there are things against armor. Fade Away again. These things are useful, but that's just so much pressure, and I feel like I could totally see Matt thriving in this meta, given that I think he really likes Knights, and I think the easy access to attachments makes Knights and everyone's favorite Build-A-Knight, Beast Tamer, really interesting. So I totally buy that. Just to come back to your Echo point briefly, I think Echo's really interesting, and I do think we haven't talked about it at all, and I don't know to what extent this has come to pass, but like I think there are some really interesting plays that you can run with bypass based tricks. So yeah, I think there's a lot of just banging units into each other on the battlefield right now, but I do think things like Wallop on Frostback Bears, and then also the ability of Frost Frogs to power up bypass strategies are really interesting, and I think both those things naturally play to Echo's strengths. The card combination that I've been having a lot of fun with right now are Frost Frog and Double Down, and I've been playing a Tristan deck that opens Frost Frog, Frostback Bear, and Shadow Spirit with Double Down and a flex card. It could either be Clashing Tempers or, let's be honest, it's almost always Tsunami Shot, but it doesn't have to be. And it could also open gates. That's been really fun. Like, doubling down Frost Frogs is really good, and then magnifying them is quite strong. You can exhaust a 2 health unit or get a Frost Frog up to 3 attack. So, and that's strong enough, honestly, that I'm happy to just magnify even just one Frost Frog. That can be worth it because of the power of that ability when it's turned up. So that's been really fun, and like I said, I think that deck runs Accelerate and Clashing Tempers for to help further some bypass tricks, and I think Echo is really interesting in that environment.
So let's go through the list of the Frostwild cards, and I want to hear, now that you guys have like either seen them or maybe you haven't seen them like in play a lot, and let's get your opinions on each. So let's start. Do you want to
give us like a cutesy like stud or dud or something? What's the framework here?
Sure. Which one of you is the stud?
I'll leave it to the listeners to decide.
Yeah, right. They can make that call.
I'm just gonna. I got the list up on Ash's Life, so here it is. So
okay.
We'll start. I'll skip over the conjurations, I guess, specifically, so we'll go through the books after. Clashing Tempers.
Fantastic card.
Yeah, amazing card. I think it's amazing in an aggro deck. I did play it in that testing game I played against Killer last night. I think it's amazing in like, that was actually a mill deck, and like it can be passive. Like, I'll take a ping and a potential exhaust in a mill deck. It's just an amazing card. It's so good.
Yeah, it's extremely flexible. It's extremely versatile. It's good in almost any situation. As long as you have a couple guys on the board to put some attachments on, it's just fantastic card.
Yeah.
You add an attack and a life onto the board at the same time, and you ping something and you exhaust something for 2 dice and a side action. That's like 4 dice worth of value at least. I feel like for 2 dice, it's really, really good.
It's been every one of my ideas, my decks that I just built. Yeah.
It might be the best card. It's the best. It might be the best non-Phoenix Born unique card in this set.
I agree. I think it is. I mean, I think it's so it'll be hard to top this, but yeah. I mean, I think the aggro potential is obvious in that with the side action and exhaust and ping, you can potentially clear 2 blockers and set up an attack that's just increased by 1. But last night was the first time I tried it in a more passive deck, and I will say there's a subtle benefit in that situation where now you only really need one unit on the board on the turn that you want to play Clashing Tempers, because if you're not swinging, that frees your main action to bring in the second unit. So that's nice. I mean, I hadn't really thought about that, but just in playing through the game, I was like, oh, this is nice. Like, have one 3-eyed owl on the board and a Gilder book or a 3-eyed owl book up. Perfect time, I feel like, for Clashing Tempers if it can get value.
Yeah, no, I agree. So stud plus, right? That's what we're saying.
Yeah, it's good.
Ember Heart.
I haven't seen enough Ember Heart yet to know. I feel like it should be very good. Your deck has to be very nature heavy to want to use it, but nature's good and Clashing Tempers is good, and that puts 2 alterations on the board, and the 2 alterations that do something when you attach them. So Ember Heart should be good to come in and take those over. I haven't seen it used enough and haven't seen it a ton in the wild, but I think it's a solid card.
I mean, she's also an alert unit.
Yeah.
Right? Like an alert knight.
That's what I was going to say. If she didn't have alert on her, I think she'd be not good. Or not, she'd be like bottom tier of the knights.
The dud? Yeah.
I think alert makes her way more interesting because then it gets so much more value from any of the attachments that you're pulling off of something else. Literally, almost any of the attachments. So I think she's good. I think it remains to be seen. I did play someone running an Ember Heart Voltron deck that I think I ultimately won. I believe I was playing a Jessa, and so won with burn damage, but with like maybe 3 life left. It was a very close game, but I think, and I never removed the Ember Heart. It had a root armor, ice adaptation, and hunting weapons, I think, on it all at the end when it was done. I wanted no part of that thing. I was mostly trying to figure out how to avoid it. So yeah, I think it's good. I mean, I'm interested just from a janky perspective in like blinking a pair of Ember Hearts to toss ice or fire adaptations back and forth in Jericho, or like canyon sheltering Ember Hearts so that they can keep getting that enters play effect. But yeah, I think it's good.
All right, moving on. So Glaciate. That is just to remind everyone, it's the main one nature class, and it's basically this unit becomes exhausted but prevents all damage, kind of like Turtle Guard. And then it's fleeting at the end of the round.
I haven't found a use for this, and I haven't seen anyone play it yet. So
theoretically, I think it's good. I mean, it's above the curve in terms of dice spent to exhaust a unit. Like, usually it takes 2 dice to exhaust a unit. Or it takes 1 die and something of yours dying, I guess, in the case of Blood Chains, to exhaust a unit. So it's ahead of the curve for that. And just based on that and the fact that it's searchable both by a squirrel that we're going to talk about and by Reinforce, which I think is going to get better in this meta. I think it should be a good card. I haven't used it yet, but I'm interested to try it in stuff like Echo to enable more bypassy type stuff. And, especially with, I think we're going to see a lot of big beef, right? Once this meta settles down a bit, because it's going to be everyone runs Ice Trap, so how do you beat Ice Trap? Well, you just play big stuff, and you use all these brand new alteration toys to beef up the big guys. I think we're, potentially in store for a bunch of armored knights and stuff like that in this meta, and you can deal with it for a round with 1 die with Glaciate. Obviously Fade Away is a better way to do it, but like you can put Fade Away gets rid of it, but it lets them, get their value in the round. Glaciate denies that. And, theoretically can combo it with 2 shadows and just get rid of the thing. Which I like. So I think that'll be interesting to see. But I feel like it should be good.
I've thought about it in 2 different contexts. One being with Mirror Spirits and sort of an exhaustion strategy. So whether that's Echo or, whatever, because I think it can be used on both sides of the field that way, right? Either way, you're going to beef either you exhaust something, giving yourself the bypass, as well as, providing a token for Mirror Spirit when it comes down, or using it after the fact, like after you get in a good swing, and then protecting your Mirror Spirit for the next round. So like in something like Lulu, obviously it's like a dream combo, but if you can set up a stamina burst, standstill, or whatever, that type of thing, you've protected your dog for a round. And it could also be used with big stuff. So Hydra or Archosaurus, because their weakness tends to be they get in one swing and then your opponent just focuses everything on them. And this kind of just keeps you chill until the next turn. But I think there's probably some ideas to explore with like you're using a Polarity Mage on your own unit at some point. To pull it off, like saving something big and then pulling it off until the end.
And that is the problem with it, right? Is that I think a lot of people are also going to be running Polarity Mage. So Polarity Mage beats this if you exhaust their guy. I mean, and Rin Shattering Fist does as well. But still, I think it's good. And like you said, someone needs to explore the Glaciate your own unit. Like I haven't tried the Glaciated Squall Stallion yet, to the Horse Cheese deck with Glaciate. I've kicked that around because
Squall Stallion's ability is famously inexhaustible.
Correct. So
yeah.
you can just sit there and build it up the whole round, and they can't remove it with damage.
And then Rin just Shattering Fist it, and you just cry.
Right. Yeah. Which is, a thing that can and will happen. But I mean that's a kind of a janky thing, but it's a thing that exists. But there might be other instances in which you want to use Glaciate to protect your own guy for the rest of the round.
Yeah.
There's stuff like maybe you Glaciate and then do Seeds of Aggression, or is there another one that deals damage to your own guy?
Law of Domination.
Yeah, there's close combat, but that requires unexhausted.
I think close combat's a wound, right? It's unexhausted anyway.
It's unexhausted, yeah. Anyway, I think there's probably room to explore, but I'm not sure it's going to be a top tier card. All right, next, Jungle Forager.
Love it.
This thing's freaking annoying.
My sweet little baby. I love it so much. I love that little squirrel. I love it. So I think, especially now that we know the next set's going to be Charm, I think we're going to be living in a Charm nature world for the foreseeable future, overrun by adorable rodents, mice and foragers, and they're going to be really annoying. Like Gilder, Forager to pull Root Armor, your Flock Shepherd. I mean, you're in business. You've got 2/0/2s who are 2/2s when they block. You've got a Root Armored Flock Shepherd. You can rile the meek to your heart's content. I mean, it's a very stable base upon which to build things. The Gilder ping can be stacked with Clashing Tempers to kill a 2 health unit. And then Forager can also do other things. It can pull removal. It could, again, assuming you're not playing Rin, and Rin isn't so dominant that you can't run things like Fade Away. I think it totally changes the calculus around how to build a deck with attachments, and instead of running multiple attachments of the same kind, you can start to think about running a bit of a utility chest of like a few one-of attachments, so it makes deck building more efficient. You have fewer things cluttering up your deck. I I think it's just a fantastic card, and that I love very much.
I think there are 3 interesting uses for it. One that I've built, one that I thought of while you were talking, and so like the main one for me is I'm interested in seeing whether it brings back explosive growth in whichever capacity. To just be able to play it, guarantee that you're going to have that big punch, whether that's Mayoni, whether it's, Mirror Spirits, whether it's whatever. I think I built a Lulu deck around the Stamina Burst idea of guaranteeing yourself both the alteration and first, like, top around. But I think there's a lot of different things. There's also the Realm of the Absurd, Realm Walker, Hunting Weapons combo, because now you're getting a body instead of wasting a first 5 card on Hunting Weapons or Root Armor. Or you could have both if it so suits you. And then even just like as a general ally in your deck, to be able to pull a massive growth, like they think, oh, it's like he's got whatever 3 nature left, not really sure what he has, and you play a squirrel, and then you can bring out a massive growth anything. It's kind of interesting.
That's interesting.
And if you did that with like Ember Heart or whatever. Anyway.
That's probably the best. Just massive growth your Frostback Bears.
Yeah. Red Flower.
Hold on, we haven't heard Killer. Anything you want to add on Forager?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's good.
You said it was annoying, so
it is annoying.
Right.
I mean, I like you guys said, you're gonna see the double root armor starts. You're gonna see. I mean, I was thinking about trying to run a triple root armor start out of James the other day. That's dumb, but like it makes stuff like that possible, right?
Any attachments that you think become more viable now that you don't have to first 5 them than was true before? Because root armor you could first 5.
I wonder about Holy Relics.
No,
honestly, maybe that's a card that isn't going to come back. Like, I don't know. It just seems that a 2/2 that you could pull out at any time that is not susceptible to the requirements of massive growth or explosive growth, and that doesn't fade away, is kind of interesting.
I think you're hard pressed now to put that in a deck when you have Wallop and Will to Survive, and we haven't talked about those yet. But I mean, I feel like I get that those aren't add 2 attack and 2 life, but I do think that they both outclass Holy Relics.
Yeah, sure. No, I'm just wondering, like, and there's Infuriate. Like, I don't know if Carl's Dreadwraith Infuriate combo gets any better with Jungle Forager, but that's another, like, because I think his deck required more of the mill your deck down and then Polarity Mage stuff back. Mm-hmm. But this is,
I'm sure it gets better.
Yeah, more proactive. There's also it doesn't work on unique, so it doesn't help Fiona at all.
No, I think the ones I'm interested in are Inflame, which felt really difficult the first 5, but could be interesting in a tempo deck, and then Power Through, which I feel like is an oft forgotten nice little card that can trade up and do some damage.
Crystal Armor is often forgotten too, and that's
a good
plus
one.
1 across all your stats. So yeah, or it could pull Reflections in the Water. You don't need to first 5 it.
It can.
All right, Red Flower. So this card, for those who don't know or remember, it is an action spell, class, nature, and basic. Remove all tokens, so that means wounds, status, exhaustion, from a target unit you control with 1 or more status tokens on it, or alteration spells attached to it. If 3 or more tokens are removed, deal a damage to a target unit an opponent controls.
I don't know. I haven't played this card yet. I've heard people on the Discord saying it's really good in like the Archosaurus Smash type decks, and maybe it is. But I haven't even tried it, or honestly, I haven't really thought about it very much yet. So this one I'm not sure about.
I think it's pretty good. It's just not being explored yet.
I think it's potentially good. I don't know. It seems pretty situational to me. I mean, I know we're supposed to be the janky podcast, so yeah, it's great. Build around it. I mean, come on.
We're gonna see like the Sleeping Bear, Seeds of Aggression, Red Flower deck.
Well, what are you gonna do for your alteration?
Yeah, I don't think you need to do any of that. Like an alteration, I mean, we're talking about Rin with ice buffs or even just doing Jungle Forager stuff for any alterations. It takes virtually no effort.
I want that ping damage though. I feel like I need like to make it really good. You need that. I didn't think about it this way, but Archivist said it earlier today, and he's like, it's basically just Sword of Virtue, but for anybody.
It is not Sword of Virtue.
It's sort of like Sword of Virtue. It's got a requirement on it, which
you know what else is like Sword of Virtue then? Transfer. That's also like Sword of Virtue.
Sword of Virtue can kill stuff.
Just transfer. No, but okay, yeah, it doesn't have the thing. But I meant in terms of the refresh, right? Like if you're using it as a refresh effect, it removes all wounds, all status.
Sort of Virtue. SORTOF.
Yeah. Sort of virtuous. I don't know. If you think about it that way, at least in terms of the deck building that you do, I think it opens up a lot of possibilities. It doesn't even have to be the Archie smash type of thing. Like I wonder, it's anti-synergistic with some things. Like you wouldn't want to use it with Mione or Fighting Spirit or whatever. But I think there's a lot of things where even if you are doing knights, you can just sit something there. Like even with a Beast Tamer, build a knight, root armor. It sits there. You can't do anything, and then you can still swing with it and then do it all again.
So the place I've thought about using it is in Echo, where you can place the side action exhaust for the additional token to potentially get a ping. And there it's kind of like using your side action exhaust for the false demon ping, but instead of a false demon, you're getting the unit that had been exhausted back. But like even there, it's pretty situational. You need to have... Your opponent needs to cooperate by putting some damage on a unit that you've put an alteration on. So, I don't know. Maybe there's like a Beast Tamer Inflame thing. So like you're forcing a block that's going to put damage on the Beast Tamer and then you put this thing on it. But like, I don't know. It just feels like such a telegraphed play. I guess your opponent doesn't really want to spend any resources or removal on killing something that's already exhausted, so maybe you've got that going for you. I don't know.
Realm Walker?
Yeah.
It usually doesn't take damage, though. Like, I mean, sometimes it does. I don't know. I really want the ping out of it for some reason. So like, I want to find a way to get the damage on it, you know?
Maybe there's like a... Maybe use Chant of Transfusion as like a heal spell to move a wound onto your thing, and then you do Red Flower. I don't know. It's kind of a...
It's okay. We'll see in a few weeks or months whenever this podcast comes out how you guys are wrong. We'll figure
I have very
it out.
limited imagination treatment. You know this.
I know. I can't. I'm not playing, so all I do is think about this all day when I'm awake at 3 a.m. All right. So Rejuvenate. When we're getting into the next 3 are going to be uniques. So Rejuvenate, Airedale. Let's hear it.
It's very, very good.
Stutter dud.
It is good. I like it. I want to see more things done with. Like, I've been very narrow-minded with it, right? I'm just like, all right, I'm going to rejuvenate Cobras, and that's all I'm doing. Like, I haven't tried anything else, and there's a lot of other stuff you can do with it. It probably is. There's probably, there's decks out there that are going to rejuvenate big bears and hydras and calamity golems and stuff like that, which is probably, or at least has the opportunity to be pretty good for one basic die. But it's a solid card. It's a bit of a build around, though, I think.
I think it's a build around, but I also think it takes virtually, as far as I've seen, the games I've watched, it ends up taking basically zero effort. Like it you're going to rejuvenate anything that you want probably within the round if you're playing Airedale, because you have at least 3 other books.
Yeah, I mean, it does take work in a sense that if you're planning on rejuvenating big stuff, your other 3 spellboard slots have to be devoted to conjurations probably, and you need to be summoning them, but Airedale typically is going to do that anyhow, so you're getting tokens for doing stuff that you wanted to do anyway. It's kind of like Silver Snake in that regard. Like, you want to kill stuff anyway, so yeah, it's good to build the snake, and you want to put guys on the board anyway, so that's what Rejuvenate wants you to do anyhow. And in that sense, it is good. I do think I need to mess with rejuvenating some bigger stuff. And then see, I've just been kind of stuck on my Cobra deck.
I don't even think it needs the bigger stuff. I think even if you were rejuvenating bears or some smaller stuff, you're still going to get the value out of, I mean, I guess bear in particular, because you get the bypass. But I don't think it needs to be the big, like, one-shot kill type of decks that you want to build up. And
no, it doesn't.
One thing that I've thought about is if you use it in conjunction with Airedale's Big Battlefield in a control deck where you're running a lot of Kneel or similar, so that like you go 3 rejuvenates, you end up building up your own board, and if they don't clear it with a huge swing, or they do, then you just Kneel their side of the board and you can rejuvenate whatever you have left as a cheeky idea. Because you can, like, even Raptor Herder, right? Works. Sally's work twice. So it takes like very little effort to build up tokens.
Along those lines, I think Focused Mirror Spirit's interesting with Rejuvenate, because you can potentially swing with a Mirror Spirit when it's got tokens on it, summon another one, pull those tokens off, exhaust something, bring it back, and you could explosive growth it again. I don't know, there's some things you could think about.
For sure.
But I think like in most things in Ashes, in a way that I find compelling most of the time, I think the biggest value is in the smallest increments. So like, yeah, rejuvenating the Ruby Cobra, I think, is always going to get bigger incremental value and more impact over a close game of Ashes than trying to figure out how to build a deck to rejuvenate an Archosaurus.
For sure. All right, so Shattering Fist.
Amazing.
You guys already said it was amazing multiple times.
It's good.
I think I've played 5 Rin games in the new meta, and I've never drawn one. I run 3 in there. I've just never drawn it, so...
So it's terrible. It's a dud. Yeah.
It's like the opposite of the...
Yeah.
Rin Possible German over there.
Yeah.
Stamina Burst, Lulu. So side action basic, remove a wound token from your Phoenix. I forgot actually that part of it. I didn't even remember that there was a heal aspect. Attach a spark to a unit you control, and then switch or assign the first player token.
That one's also a good feature.
So yeah, I forgot the first thing completely, but the attaching a spark and switching first player is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good card. It's competing with Phoenix Barrage, which is a completely different card. So it's like it changes the type of deck you want to make as Lulu. And I'm not exactly sure what type of deck it is now. It's either... I've kicked around like Chant of Erosion sounds good now, because it's like this free way to wipe stuff out at the end of a round and set up a top of round swing. And, with Stamina Burst, you can control that you get that top of round swing. It's also good with like Kneel stuff at the top of the round, and it's also good with the werewolf units, the beast mages and stuff that want you to not have the token. But it's just a lot different than building a Phoenix Barrage Lulu deck. So I think they're both good. You just have to decide which way you want to go now.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I I'm most interested in exploring the different versions of this. Like Shattering Fist is kind of like you build that deck and you're just going to include it most of the time and then it does its thing. But I think there's a lot of different things you can do with Stamina Burst that haven't been explored.
Yeah, it just goes in every deck, period.
All right, Donnie.
Yeah, I also... Well, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Just one more.
No, we don't want to hear your opinion anymore. No,
Wise. However many episodes in, I'm done. All right. I think again, I feel like I'm now becoming just like a broken record. Although I also think this is the way that nature magic works. It's like the kind of value magic, often not the jankiest. But just feels like you kind of want to play Stamina Burst with like a solid suite of books, like just a Foggy Bear core plus Stamina Burst feels like it could be plenty good to just manipulate the first player token and make sure you get the big swings when you need them. So yeah, you can do this build around stuff, but I also just feel like you can probably find ways of getting value out of this in many different kinds of decks, and I personally see myself using Stamina Burst more frequently than Phoenix Barrage.
Yeah, the cost is a difference maker too. And it's hard in a potential meta where, like, if there are Rins and things like that, where you might, or just in general, 3 life units, that you might not be able to get the full value out of Phoenix Barrage because you have to either use it twice to take out 1 unit, or it just makes it awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Donnie, summon Adaptadon. Thoughts? I'm going to go ahead and say it's a dud because you guys have said everything so far is good except for Glaciate. I'm saying this is a dud.
No, we couldn't figure out Red Flower either, for the record.
Yeah, you're wrong though.
I think Adaptadon is just weird. I don't know if it's good or not. I've seen it do really well. I've seen it do really poorly. It's in a weird spot. I played against the Polarity Mage Adaptadon deck that, like, it was Kevin WH. He was like, Adaptadon, Fire Adaptation, or Ice, either one, right? Kill my guy or exhaust my guy, then Polarity Mage it away and do it again. Then I think he dispelled it once and did it, like, he kept redoing it over and over, which... And it worked, right? He won the game, and he actually dominated me with it pretty hard. It was funny. But I've seen that.
Dominated you.
Yeah, he dominated me. But, I mean, I've seen that do really well. I've also seen it, like, come out. It's a 1/3 for 2 dice. Big whoop. It exhausts my 1/1. I don't care. And then I just kill the thing. I don't know. I've seen it do well and not do well. It also gets ice trapped and loses you a die, so
Yeah, it gets ice trapped. It doesn't do anything against the meta of like 2 attack units. Like Frostback Bear is everywhere.
Well, it created the meta of 2 attack units. That's the thing. It's a really weird unit. Yeah,
it's not. It's terrible. It comes in as a 1/3. Maybe it gets it's such like you have to manipulate the field or your opponent, or all these decks are just too big to even care about.
I agree. I don't particularly like it. I just think it's interesting that. I mean, it's a good thing there's clashing tempers because I think...
Yeah.
I don't know how many adaptations we'd see otherwise. I do think it makes people think twice about relying on things like, I was just waxing poetic about Flock Shepherd in that, 0/2 deck, and, nothing sadder than a Flock Shepherd that gets exhausted by your ice adaptation. But I think you just can't rely on the Adaptadon to do it, to be the source of that effect. So
I just think that with the costs, I'd almost always prefer running 3 or even 2 clashing tempers and sometimes getting that benefit than... I don't even think it's a body because it's almost always going to die, or it's going to be the 1/3 version, which you don't care about. It's just wasting a spellboard slot.
The 1/3 version does exhaust a guy, though, and
maybe
some kinds of
maybe,
guys.
But I mean, you're not going to do it if it doesn't, right?
Yeah, so then it's a wasted spellboard slot,
and it's a false demon. Like, it's a 2/2 with a ping. Like, that's
true.
That's not bad either.
I think that's probably
I mean, everyone says False Demon's really good.
It's a false demon that costs more that has to be, like...
Yeah, it's a more expensive False Demon, but you can hit a non-exhausted thing.
But again, that is... False Demon gets its ping on an exhausted thing every time, even if it gets ice trapped. This one doesn't.
This one doesn't. That's fair. It eats your side action up, too.
Yeah, you have to spend the side action.
Yeah. So
Okay.
there's downsides to it. I don't, like I said, I don't know. It's in a weird spot, man.
Adaptadon.
So we agree it's the worst card in the set. Yeah.
It's probably good in Rin, just to combo it with Shattering Fist.
We have to be a little spicier with this commentary. Otherwise, it's just like we're I don't know.
Fangirls over here.
I know people don't like the word try hard, but it's like we're only focused on the competitive now. I just think this is the worst. Like, it's just not good, though. I haven't seen it good yet. Summon Frostfrog.
I mean, that Dispel deck, that Dispel Polarity Mage deck was janky, and it was cool.
That's true. That sounds cool, and I'd love to see Kevin run that in a tournament, and then see where it goes.
Yeah.
Jankfest. I want to see him bring it out.
I've turned around, of all the cards in the set, I've turned around most on Frostfrog. I don't know if it was like the amount of text on the Conjuration or what, but I really was like, this is a stupid card. And now I really like it. It's really nice in that Tristan deck that I was talking about. Just the fact that it can be doubled down as a 1/1 and with a 3 Conjuration count, I think makes it interesting. I think it's very solid. I like it.
I need to remember the Double Down exists. I always forget about that card.
I mean, it puts you in a wicked spread, right? Like Nature, Illusion.
Yeah.
It's really not too bad right now because, again, yeah, Illusion, you're pulling the fadeaways if depending on how scared you are of Rin. Time, lots of good compliments. It's really not bad.
Realm Walker.
You can play Mist Typhoon in
Realm Walker, hunting weapons,
Realm Walker and stuff. I mean, I think Illusion and Nature play pretty well together anyway. So I don't see an issue with that. And a Time Splash, just for Turtle Guard even, which is like the best unit guard right now probably because it doesn't get
Gilder. Well, I guess Gilder gets exhausted, but you still get the ping.
Gilder gets exhausted by the ice adaptation, but if that sees play, I do think Clashing Tempers is going to be around a lot though, so it gets exhausted by that. And Turtle Guard doesn't. Turtle Guard also doesn't get ice trapped. So I think Turtle Guard's in a really good spot, and because of that, I'm not upset about having a Time Die or two in my deck, I guess.
So you've changed your tune then, because when it was like previewed, I think you said this was garbage.
I probably did. I'm usually wrong about that stuff.
You're like, I just don't see it. You thought you're like, it's gonna get pinged away as immediately by an Old Salt or by the Transfusion.
And it probably will. I've seen like no Old Salts, as a matter of fact, like lately, because everyone's just like off of that stuff right now.
I'll just forget it exists.
But I mean, that is our community.
You never visit me anymore, you young Anchonauts. Forgot me in the retirement home.
There's like 5 million ice traps in the meta, and Old Salt just poops all over ice trap, and it should be 3 of in every deck. And once people get bored with this nature stuff, it's going to be back to Herald packed with Old Salts everywhere.
Yeah, but you know what?
It'll be back.
I don't think it matters. If it draws the ping, it's probably still worth it. And if it doesn't, then you have a shot. I'm not sure of it outside of Tristan as much, but it's definitely like sometimes it's good to just have something that draws fire. But yeah, our community could be defined as a fishbowl or goldfish bowl because we forget, like, as soon as something new is released, it's like, okay. What was good? What was good last month? Because I'm not running that anymore.
Listen, I also said Chain of Transfusion was garbage when that card got previewed. So, I mean, I'm not very good at this predicting whether cards are good or not thing.
You're 0 for 2.
Yeah, but I do think that Frostfrog is good in Tristan. I've been messing with it in Hope. I don't like it there. It's okay, but there's better stuff to use with Hope.
I still would have thought it's good in Hope. I don't know.
It's not bad. I mean, it's just I'd rather have Lightbringer or Butterfly Monk or Shadowhound or I don't know, just that kind of other stuff.
Have it all, my friend. Have it all. Have all three.
And you can, and she got the spell board, or they've got the spell board to do it. But yeah, I don't know. I do like the Tristan idea, especially with Double Down, ensuring that you can get the Magnify off one way or the other. So I will endorse that.
Carl posted a Tristan deck with Ruby Cobra, Shadow Spirit, and Frost Rock, and I was like, I get that that's like super value, but I also don't understand how you don't mill yourself out. That's crazy.
Yeah, well, you're Carl, so you draw 3 Call Upon the Realms every round.
And still get 10 units on the board.
I always need a main action to wait because you're so far ahead. And
even when you play them all and then you draw 3 more somehow.
Yeah. All right. Wallop. Kapow.
This card makes me sad, and I will say it makes me sad because it's like so generically good that it really, I don't know, it's just like kind of creates weird distortion around any kind of other offensive attachments, like Infuriate, for example. I think now Infuriate is like strictly Dreadwraith fodder, like, or I guess Calamity Golem if you're going that route. But like, I don't know why you would ever play Infuriate over Wallop other than you really, really want, like, that's a complete build around wound thing. Like, I think I kind of wish we were in the world where Infuriate was the only 1 die plus 2 attack option you had. I think that's a more interesting world for jankiness, but Wallop is very good.
Infuriate's not the only one. Infuriate was the second one though, because Ensnare was actually.
But that's not a. Well, yeah, but that's
no.
Not
it's 2 damage. It's slightly different because it can be 2 damage to either Guard or the Phoenixborn. But
yeah,
like,
but
I mean, Sympathy Pain was doing it since the Master set.
Sure, but in terms of alterations that are side action on attack, right? Like,
well, Ensnare's not an alteration, but yes.
Yeah, that's true. That's a reaction, but whatever. It's more comparable to me, and I don't know.
I mean, Hunting Weapons did it kind of. That was ally restricted though.
And spread, and can't go face with both damage.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there were things around it, right? But yeah, it's good. I'm with Schmendrix. It's just generically good.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's going to be used as a battlefield trading tool. Mostly add 1 attack, add 2 attack for 1 die, and that outvalues whatever you're swinging into, and swing into stuff. I mean, we've seen Amplify do well, and Amplify only works on 0 attack units, and this is like Amplify that works on anything.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be good.
I don't know if it's like my immediate resistance to just something being good that I'm like, I don't want to use it, or I have to find a way like to use it differently.
Yeah, I've been like that too.
So my only idea with it was trying. I mean, not that it's like unique. It's still with sort of on a Frostback Bear idea, or any unit, but just putting it in Brennan and just thinking about it as another burn card that you can first 5 and seeing. Well, I want to get to that about burn and mill, but yeah, it's good. Will to Survive.
I feel exactly the same way about it as I do Wallop. It's just generically good. You can put it on Lionesses and stuff and get a little bit of extra value out of it like that, but I think it's just generically good.
I think I had the hot take, which I still am very tempted to stand by, which is not only is it generically good, I think it's the best alteration. I think the combination of the 1 health, which can change trades in your favor, plus the +1 attack, that's obviously really good. It creates trades in the opposite direction, and the 1 heal enables you to use your, relieves your guard damage from guarding, also creates guard pressure if people don't want you to be healing, which you can take advantage of. Like, it's just a really good it's very flexible. Like I had first thought about it and played it with Lioness, but as I was playing it, I was like, I just kind of want to put these like everywhere. I just want to sprinkle them on my units.
Yeah.
I think it's better than Wallop, actually.
I think it's better than Root Armor. Like I think Beast Tamer with Will to Survive is the best knight in the game. 3/4 alert tame with life drain when it attacks back. Like that's a really good knight.
Yeah. It's solid everywhere. It's more easily splashed because it's not a power side, and it does change the math rather than just using it as either removal or extra punch. Because then you're already ahead of the game. I think this changes or can get you back in the game, whereas Wallop is not that card.
And this is a Herald card too, and
oh, for sure.
It just like, and this is what makes me kind of sick about it. Herald just, I can't stand him.
It's a no deck card too, I think, right? You're taking damage and then you're giving yourself a chance to punch back, because she likes running big things anyway.
Yeah, in that vein, it's in every Phoenixborn card, but like Herald can ensure that you get the life drain to trigger.
Sure.
And yeah, I don't know. It just, he doesn't need any help, and he got a bunch of it, I think. I don't know how much he got really with this set, but I mean, Will to Survive, I think, is definitely a boost. And I also think that this set just didn't do enough to the metagame to knock him off his pedestal. And if anything, it made him better, because you have all these alterations adding life to stuff, and he just kills all the big stuff.
Well, hold that thought, though, because that's my next question for you guys, because I think that's going to be an easy one to like cover that might be useful for people. So Will to Survive. We have one more. We've got one more. Wolfpack Leader. Easy one.
Yeah, we said that's great. We love it.
We talked about this game. This card's ridiculously good.
All right. What, for each of you, what are the top three, let's say Phoenixborn, that are the winners of this set and the top three losers?
I think Koji is an obvious winner. I think Carl's Koji deck is probably the best deck in the game right now. Unless, I don't know. I don't know what would beat it. I'm sure someone can come up with something. But yeah, so Koji.
If you want three winners, I think it's Koji, Rin, and Echo.
Not Herald? I think Herald is a winner.
Well,
I would have said Tristan.
Well, I think that Herald was on the top. I think he's still there, but I don't know that he. I guess he didn't move up, is what I'm saying. Like I think he's retained his spot at the top.
That's fair.
Maybe Koji is challenging him now.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think, like, if you look at Phoenixborn that jumped up a few pegs, it's Koji, Rin, and Echo.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't think of Echo, but that's cool. Okay. So
only Echo, only because I feel like the meta is going to be big stuff. Like, that's where it's going to take a little bit of time, but like it's going to shake out to, you have Koji and then you have big stuff. I feel like that's what we're going to see.
Okay.
And Echo, like, if we get into these games where, and this is even helpful against Koji, right? When you get into these games where you're going to fight for the battlefield, the exhaustion, I feel like, got a big boost. Like, we're gonna have armored knights, and we're gonna have 3 life units, and we're gonna have stuff that's altered to stay on the battlefield longer. And Echo's just like, whatever, I'll exhaust it and go through. I feel like he got a lot better just because of that. Koji got really good because Wolfpack Leader is ridiculous. And Ren got really good because Shattering Fist is ridiculous. But Echo is like the indirect winner.
Okay. What are your 3 picks, Schmenny? You only said one before.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah. I would still say Herald. Winner in the sense that, yeah, he was already towards the top, and I don't think anything here really threatens his position at the top of the meta. The Herald deck that we'd been running for a while we ran it in a tournament together. I basically swapped out, I think it was Divine and Charm and a Ceremonial, and I just swapped it in nature with 3x Will to Survive, Frostback Bear, Gilder, and then still have like this mill package of Return to Soils and Remorses and Enchanted Violinists. And like I've played it once against Abby, sorry, and she had a very bad time because it's a very mean deck and it's still very good. So yeah, I think I probably healed 4 or 5 off of Will to Survive on top of, the Consume Soul. So maybe only 3 off Will to Survive. But I got a non-trivial amount of healing from that card. Trying to think of who else is a real winner. I guess Tristan to a degree. I don't know. I mean, I feel like betting on Tristan's always risky. I think something like James might be where I would go for kind of a loser, insofar as like I think between Frost Frog, Clashing Tempers, other things, there's a fair bit of crowd control now that came in this set, and Wallop makes Frostback Bear more threatening for the over the top swings. So I think pure go wide strategies, especially ally based where you can't be double downing things, I think probably look a bit worse now than they did. But I feel like you kind of sprinkle nature as like the value magic onto anything, and anything gets better. So it feels more like the overall power level of the cards of the card pool has gone up. It's not clear to me that like anyone's gotten worse. Maybe worse relatively, but
so you think Tristan, Harold, and Koji, those were your 3 then? Yeah, that win. Sure. And then James as a loser. Who do you think's a loser? Killer.
It's hard to say. Like Schmendrick said, nature is kind of already everywhere, so making it better just kind of makes a lot of people better. I want to say that Brennan loses from this, but just all of the nature in the meta makes it hard for him to stick an ally, and both of his her, their, whatever their pronouns are.
I think it's fluid, as I think.
Yeah. So either Change of Heart or Spirit Burn both kind of want allies to be on the board, and especially small ones. And I think that's a lot more difficult now. So I feel like that's a possibility of a loser. I look at I want Mill to still be good. I hope Leo hasn't lost, because Glowfinch can get iced and stuff like that, and I think that's rough for him. But so far, my games have still been pretty positive with Leo, so I think he's okay. I just had somebody else in my mind, and I lost it completely as I was talking about Leo. If I remember, I'll come back to it. But Hope is the other one.
Yeah.
Again, with the
you think they're a loser?
Yeah, potentially, because Hope is kind of betting everything on one life conjurations, and like Clashing Tempers just wrecks those, and everyone's going to be playing a lot of Clashing Tempers. So I think there's going to be a lot of instances where someone drops a Clashing Tempers and Hope kind of gets 2 for 1. With one of her things getting exhausted and another one getting pinged away. So that's a potential. Hope can always go to Shadowhound and avoid that, part of it, at least with that unit. But even after Shadowhound, Hope is typically still on some swarmy 1 life things that might get kind of eaten up by these adaptations.
Yeah, but
we'll see.
If you're thinking, because you could think about different ways. Like Fiona is a little bit sadder, if she's facing Rins or whatever. But hasn't typically been anywhere near the top anyway. So in terms of like biggest gap of loser. I don't know that she's up there. James is an interesting one. Brennan, I really do think if you look at like what the power level was versus what is potentially now, she's definitely a big loser. Hope probably similarly. If all the exhaustion and beefier units are around, especially like bypass stuff, then you're in trouble. Aerodel, I think, is a winner. I don't know if there's as much of a gap, but she hasn't seen a lot of play for a while. And I think now with all the 2-lifers, as well as all the tools that this set gives, the types of decks she likes to run, even if you just ignore Rejuvenate completely, I think she's a winner. I'm interested to see whether Lulu takes a big jump as well, but Koji's probably the biggest clear winner. I do think Tristan, though, is going to... He's probably, but like it's his time.
I need to check out the Frost Frog double down stuff with him. That is intriguing.
I don't want to overstate it because, like, I need to play it into, with no disrespect intended to opponents that I've played this deck with. Like, I need to play it against people who are looking for the double down. I think.
One sec. I think Odette's a loser, unfortunately. I love Odette.
That's interesting.
But when you're facing so much beefy stuff, yeah, you have Sword of Virtue, but you're also kind of nerfing Enter the Fray a bit if you're playing against... Like, if what you say is true and you think it's just going to be a beefy meta, whether it's Rin or whatever, even if you're Wolfpack leaders with people playing Shepherds, you're just going to take 2 damage every time. And you have a small battlefield that you can't compete with the Swarm.
Yeah, we'll see. I think Odette will be okay.
She hasn't been around in a while. She hasn't been around.
I could see that, though. No, we haven't seen a lot of Odette, and that could just be because people got sick of her, that she was kind of ubiquitous for a while. And it does seem like she falls out of fashion when Herald's in fashion, and I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
But, I don't think Harold's not going anywhere. He's just, people forgot about him for a little bit because they want to try the new toys, and once the new toys are done being tried out, he's going to come back. Yeah, Aerodel's interesting because it seems like she should win with these 2-life units running around now. And, she's going to be in nature all the time, so she gets all these new cards to help her out. Aerodel's famously my favorite Phoenixborn, and I've played a ton of her, and I've done really well with that Cobra deck, but it still hasn't changed that when Aerodel's just not as good as some of the top people, I don't think, and she's just not. There's something about holding her in my hands and playing that deck, it just doesn't feel as strong as a Herald or as a Odette or as a what Hope used to be. It's something about it. It just feels a little bit weaker. That could be because I've been coming off of a couple bad tournament showings with her, but I don't know. I don't think Rejuvenate has rejuvenated her. Let's put it that way. But maybe we need to come back into a more control-y type Aerodel build, back to the old Zookeeper type lists where you're not actively trying to mill your opponent, but you end up milling your opponent because you just control everything they do. And maybe that's where she needs to be now again.
And I always lose against Aerodel, so I don't think she's I don't think she's a problem. Leo would be my disappointment if it turns out that he just can't make it, because he's probably my top. I think he is my top played Phoenixborn, and I guess that leads into the question: what do you think Mill even has a place right now? I mean, you said you've had success, but like in the broader thing, especially with all this exhaustion, whether it's Frostfrog or Adaptadon or Clashing Tempers, not to mention the Rejuvenate or the resurgence of Frostback Bear and beefy stuff that you just can't remove. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. I think, like I said, I think Nature and Charm are like the peanut butter and jelly of Ashes right now. I think you can play Beast Tamer and buff your Beast Tamer in a mill shell. Your Three-Eyed Owls, the new Three-Eyed Owls, do not care at all about being exhausted. Your opponent still actually has to deal with them and remove them if they don't want to get the cards taken away at the top of the next round. I've had pretty good success playing decks with a significant mill win con since the new cards dropped, and I don't think that's going to change. And I think for that matter, I think Jess is still fine. So I think long-term burn, I think, is still probably good. So I think it's okay. I think you can't. I don't know about Turbo Mill. You guys play more Turbo Mill than I do. I like very control, battlefield, and removal focused mill. But yeah, I think that's gonna be okay. Is my early guess.
I think it's fine too. Like I said, I mean I've been playing like 90% mill decks over the last couple weeks, like active mill decks. Trying between that Leo, which is just all. I mean, it just attacks your deck and that's it constantly, and then Aerodel with the rejuvenating Cobras is a lot of mill pressure. That's very active. And both of them have been good. Now, but both decks, when I've come up against, somebody really strong playing a really high-level deck, have both struggled. And those have been their only losses, really. Like, if I'm playing something in the middle of the field, it's usually fine. If I come up against a meta deck, particularly one that's piloted by, like, a top 10 ELO player or something, then that's where I've struggled quite a bit. But I still think it's okay. I think more people should play it. I wonder. I get bored with the straight battlefield trading decks, so I try and play other stuff that's not that, and that's why I'm playing a bunch of mill right now. When you talk about what beats Wolfpack Leader Fallen, I mean, besides a big early rush, I mean, maybe it's that. Maybe it's attack the deck aggressively and, stop worrying about trading on the battlefield and make them, if their only way to get in and get damage on you is to attack through your board, then make them attack through Glowfinches and Orchid Doves and chew their deck up while you're doing it.
I've thought a lot about your Noah deck that you built on the road for me. The Noah Don't Fear the Fallen, because I think that type of deck, I think Noah's a winner with higher value conjurations on the board, but also more in a control style, because Shadowblade was already good, but the ability to lock out some of these problematic tools and then still have that bypass, that type of style deck is really interesting. And leading into my point, I'm just going to, what are the top cards that outside of Frostwild do you think are the winners or will see or should see more play?
Can Gilders see more play? I don't know. Again, it's sort of on my one note thing here, but I think Gilder's really good. Even with the exhausting,
even with beefy units?
Yeah. I think so. I think, the ping puts, you beef something up, the ping still is useful in bringing that back within range to potentially remove. I think it's still pretty much fine. I think. Frostback Bear, obviously, Ice Trap. Let me stop and think about something more interesting than the obvious stuff.
Turtle Guard is the one that comes to mind for me.
Turtle Guard is a good one
because it has 3 life, and that's where I feel like the meta is going to go eventually.
Not just the 3 life, but the 2 attack, which does stop Like
right.
as a
it dodges
bear.
the ice thing too.
And the ice thing,
it blocks
yeah.
bear. It blocks bear, which is going to be bear also has 3 life, so that's going to be seen more than it already is, which is already a lot. And bear is a good place to put all these alterations.
Yeah.
So bear is going to be around, and turtle blocks bear, so that's helpful. And turtle can't get iced, or frost frogged, which is also helpful. I wonder if Steadfast Guardian, for the same reason, makes a resurgence. I mean, that can get iced, but I mean, you can always put
Wallop on it.
You could wallop it or something. If you really want to dodge that, or Will to Survive, or any of these. You can Clashing Tempers and put a fire adaptation on it. There's ways around that. Plus, I mean, you want to go crazy with it, right? You can focus the book and just unexhaust it too.
Yeah, I always forget about that.
I mean, I when I was playing that a couple metas ago, I had that Jessa deck that was undefeated for a while, and it like the base of it was Root Armored Steadfast Guardian, and now that we have squirrels, I wonder if that makes a comeback. Like,
well, very similar to Carl's Jessa Holy Knight with Devotion thing.
Yeah.
Similar idea.
Yeah. I mean, I could see a deck that has, Beast Tamer and Steadfast Guardian and Squirrel
and Root Armor
in the first 5 with something else.
Oh, God.
And you got 2, armored alert units on the board at the beginning of the round.
Put it in Herald.
Why not? I mean, everything else goes in Herald, so it might as well. But yeah, I see stuff like that looking pretty good. I mean, I think Old Salt's a winner, and I don't know why it's not being played right now, but it should be. Maybe it is, and I'm just not seeing it.
It'll come back. It's just a fade away from ceremonial at the moment, but it's like I think as soon as we see our first new tournament with this set, it'll definitely be there. Law of Fear and Neil and Turtle Guard are probably like the more defensive, I guess, control style tools are my winners outside of the aggressive Frostback Bear or Ice Trap. Like, those are the obvious ones.
Yeah, Ice Trap's an obvious winner. I think Beast Tamer has to be another one. I mean, I don't know how many times we've said Beast Tamer on this podcast today, but I feel like it's been a lot, and I think that's because, again, you got a 3-life body, and the more we push toward, if the meta is going to be about battlefield trading, Beast Tamer is really, really good at that.
Yep. Except for into Rin.
Yeah, it does have a problem with Rin. But I mean, just start it with a squirrel and put a Root Armor on it, and then it survives the Shattering Fist.
All right, that's the deck I'm building tonight, I guess.
I mean, I already maybe Blood Brawl wins too, if we have a bunch of big units on the board.
That's a good call.
I don't know. Does it? It doesn't look good into Root Armor.
I don't know. I'm not real sure. I know I built Rin. Like, the first deck I built was just Rin was like 3-life deck, and just beefed I just played every beefy thing I could think of and put Blood Brawl in it.
Oh, I see. So sending it back the other way. Yeah, it's just if they're Root Armoring their stuff, then harder to get value.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's bad against Root Armor. I also want to play Red King's Living Doll garbage into this meta, just because it uses Cut the Strings to wound the doll, and I can start discarding these stupid alterations everybody's putting on things.
I love it.
Just run Polarity Mage. It'll be fine.
No, Polarity Mage doesn't remove other people's. It only removes stuff on yours. You need Cut the Strings or Dispel.
Cut the Strings takes it away from other people.
Yeah.
And it puts damage on your doll, which you then throw back at the Phoenixborn. So I might mess with that deck a bit. I used to love doll decks. When I got back into Ashes Reborn, the first thing I did was build doll decks. It was like a Leo living doll deck, and that was like my favorite thing to do. And I haven't really played with doll since then, and that was like before I even knew what I was doing in Ashes Reborn. That I was playing with dolls.
You could also just Dispel, right? You said Kevin was running it.
Oh yeah,
run Dispels now. I think we said that
Dispel on his own guys.
What did we say that? We said that when Hope came out. We're like, just start running Dispel everywhere because of all the Wishing Wing garbage. Just run Dispel. That's the new. Yeah. That's the card that nobody plays that should be played.
We talked about dispelling Change of Heart off of Brennan to end games.
Yeah.
I still think that's hilarious. I'm gonna dispel Brennan and then Spirit Burn an ally to win a game, but haven't done that yet.
A Brennan control deck is something that's worth exploring.
I've messed with that, and I just must not know how to do it. Like I have not been able to do that at all. But I've like given up. I'm just like, I'm not good at this. I'm gonna find something else to do. I tried it with the Anchor Not Control. I tried it with like Hollow and Spin Down, and I tried with a bunch of stuff, and I cannot get it to work at all.
What are you gonna run, Schmenn? What's the deck you're running at the tournament, the next tournament? If you had to pick today.
I mean, yeah, I think I've talked about it. I've been running for a while. I've been running a Jessa that I really like, and I went through it, and I basically think it's all pretty good. I think I was thinking of it. It runs Turtle Guard, which we've already said is good. Fear still looks really good. I think if I make any changes, it's probably like adding ice traps for blood brawls. Just because I don't know, again, what the nature of root armored targets is going to be. I still, yeah, despite the additional fuel that nature adds to the fire of attacking, like Will to Survive and Wallop, I still think there's a lot of play for long-term inevitability in the current meta, like Jess's Burn and kind of Saria Control Mill. So I'll probably stick with those kinds of things, to be honest.
So nothing has changed. Everything's changed. Nothing's changed.
I mean, I think I'd run Saria in a tournament tomorrow if I had one, but it's only because I don't want to play Pact Herald, which I think is still the best deck.
Or Fallen Creepers.
I haven't even tried that. I hear it's amazing. It probably is, but until I see that, I feel like the strongest thing is just Herald with Nature and Ceremonial and a third color, and that third color is either Charm or it could really be anything that he wants to be in there. But it's. I mean,
I still don't know if any of these things beat that Koji Creeper.
They might not. I don't know. I haven't played against it. I'd like to try and mill it with Leo. I'd like to try and mess with it a little bit with some of that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe that could be. That could be what takes Herald down. Although now I think Herald has access to Clashing Tempers to thin out some of that swarmy stuff, and he has access to Will to Survive to heal even more. He was already healing like 8 to 10 a game between Consume Soul and Pact and Butterfly Monk, and now he's going to heal like 15 a game.
I should say Clashing Tempers is really good against creepers. If you can get it when their creeper comes down, you can place the fire adaptation first to kill the creeper, and then place the ice to exhaust the seed.
The seed, yeah.
That is a good one.
That's solid.
There you go. We just beat Carl again. Someone actually has to.
Yeah.
What do you think our combined record against Carl is? I think I've beaten Carl twice, maybe. And so 2 and maybe even 1, and however many other times I've played him. What do you think our combined record is against Carl?
Like just any game or competitively?
Yeah, any game.
I bet I'm 4-50 versus Carl.
Yeah, I'm probably like I don't play. Basically all of last year, my ego and lack of self-confidence in my ability caused me to just like avoid all of his games. And then when I did start playing good stuff, he walloped me. So I think 4-20 maybe.
Cool. So we might together have cracked double-digit wins against Carl. So
maybe
on some level, like teching against his decks is like, what's the point?
I think I'm better against him though than Matt. I think I've beaten Matt one time in my whole life.
Yeah, I've beaten Matt a few times.
And I've been playing against Matt since 1.0, and I think I've won one game against him ever. I'm not sure I've ever. No, I beat Brian a couple times too, but
I've beaten Brian a couple times.
I've played Carl more than both of them, but yeah, I think I beat Matt one time.
Yeah, Matt's good.
All right, well, we did it.
We did it. I don't know what we did.
Well, we did an hour and 38 minutes by my clock of recording. So
we said everything was good. We said everything was good. Nothing's changed. And then we just bitched about losing. So I don't know that we've done anything.
I mean, come on. That's the entire value proposition of this show.
That's what we do, isn't it? I mean, that's our MO.
Yeah, fair enough. Probably a good time to cut it then. Well, I'm interested to see. I guess the big thing will be the collection, right? That's going to be, there might be a tournament between now and then, but that's going to be the next major showcase of where this all pans out. So I don't know. Hopefully this episode comes out before then. But yeah, I'm interested. Even though I feel like it's more Battlefield oriented, I still have tons of ideas that I think are interesting and I want to change or like try out. But I do worry about Mill, at least for now, as a, I don't want to say a viable archetype. I just think it's gotten hit in too many directions, and I'm waiting for the charm set to hopefully rejuvenate it.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna fight the good fight in the meantime and try and discard people's decks.
We missed our chance, man. We had the Turbo Mill meta that we could have just ran away with it.
Yeah.
Lack of faith.
It was the Pact meta was good for Turbo Mill, and we didn't try. But I'm telling you, it's going to come back because Pact is still good. Just people forgot about it for a little bit, but it's still really good. It's going to be back in a couple weeks, so we can try again.
For sure. All right. I don't have any more questions.
Thank God. Oh, Jesus.
I'm ready to go to sleep. I'm tired.
Yeah, I'm ready to wake up in half an hour. So.
Good luck, man.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Let's end on a high. And who's signing us off? I'm not doing it.
I can do it. If you're not janky, you're stanky. Frog up, wolf down. Catch you next time.
Good job, guys.
Later.
See you guys later. Peace.